Hello, welcome back to Doing Bart Things, and this is Bart, and in this video I'm going to talk about some other goings-ons. I thought about talking about the 4060 Ti in the same video, but I realized if I did that and then talked about these other things that it would get very long. So I decided not to do that. The news, if you will, that I'm going to go over is first off with ASUS. So they issued a statement on BIOS updates and warranty coverage, which is a welcome thing to finally happen. And I kind of gave this a day or two. If you get time, go over to Gamers Nexus and watch their last video on it. It was very good. They actually paid for it and had an attorney come on, which I thought was very interesting. And that attorney talked about not copyright law, about warranty law and that sort of thing. So ASUS has done kind of a 180, which is good, and they have clearly stated that your motherboard is covered under warranty, even if you use Expo, which is big because a lot of other warranty language from other motherboard manufacturers do not necessarily claim that they cover that. So that was good to see from ASUS. They've reached out to various points of contact for sales and also made the update saying, hey, we are going to cover these motherboards. Nobody needs to worry about that. So it's definitely an about face, which was good to see. That's the way this should have been handled in the first place. I'm still a little bit, what's the right word? Pessimistic, because that should have been the statement to begin with. They should have come right out and said, hey, we're not going to throw anybody under the bus. We're going to stand behind our products. They did not do that. So I'm a little bit still kind of like, but this is definitely better. It's in writing. It would be much difficult. They're going to do it because they have no legal basis not to. Stand by their product. Now, if you get a burned out motherboard due to the aforementioned issues that can crop up on the AM5 platform, if you have an issue, it looks like their latest BIOS has in fact for them fixed the issue that they're having with the higher than wanted voltages. So all in all, had they responded this way, there never would have been anybody making any videos about it other than to say, hey, there's a problem out there. And not saying ASUS are being big time doofuses. So that's good to see. I really hope that this continues and they start to kind of open up a little bit, offer some more transparency, and that's only going to be good for the consumer, and that's really what's important. Because if you want your brand to continue to be loyally followed, that's what you should do. So, going to give credit where credit is due. They reversed course. It didn't really take them that long either. They didn't drag it out for weeks and weeks. They just said, okay, look, we've taken a second look at this. This isn't the way we want to go about it. So good for them. And again, Gamers Nexus has a video that they cover everything about it. If you need support, then of course you can go and ring them up or send support their information. But they have clearly stated XMP, Expo, DOCP memory configurations, they don't care. It's all settings that are supported on the motherboard. They're not going to not honor their warranty because you enabled those features. All right, moving on. I just laugh at this one. The RTX 4070 production reportedly halted till June to prevent inventory pileup from poor sales. Okay. Here's what's going on. Nvidia does not want to lower prices. They're not going to lower prices on this card that was DOA. The 4070, okay. The 4070 isn't as disastrous of a launch as the 4060 Ti. It's not quite that bad. But it is basically bad. It is not a good GPU for the money. It's a perfectly fine GPU to use. It performs I wouldn't call it like horrible. It's just not a good performing GPU for the money that you're paying. And what was it? This thing's like 600. Is it 599? I think it's 599 if memory serves. I could look it up real quick, but it's in the same category of price is probably the best deal out there right now. I would say for a GPU is the AMD RX 6950 XT, and the 6950 XT can be had for the same price or a bit lower. Yeah, no, it's $700. I think this is $699, and I'm sorry, it's not as good. It's just it does not perform as well. AMD at some point is going to release FSR 3, but even without it, the 6950 XT is just a monster compared to this thing. It is absolutely a higher performing video card for the same money, and thus, if someone comes to me and asks me what card are you going to buy, I would say buy that one. I would rather say, oh man, this is a close call. Let's really kind of add up the pros and cons. But no, I would almost take a 6950 XT over a 4070 Ti, much less this card. This card, it's too much money for something that doesn't deliver on the performance as the other cards. Again, right now, the only caveat, the only thing that's keeping it, to where some people will fork over any money for it is DLSS. And AMD's working on the FSR, so they get FSR 3 out, and that could be a totally different situation. Even though FSR 2 isn't as high performance, I think you put FSR 2 on a 6950 XT, excuse me, and it smokes this thing pretty hard, I would reckon. So this is just not a good deal. Nvidia has really overpriced all their GPUs. They're unwilling to drop the price. They're so unwilling, they would rather stop production than to drop the price. That should tell you where their mindset is. So the 4060 Ti, I wouldn't get your hopes up that they drop the price to something that is more appropriate for that card's performance to compete properly in the market. Just throwing that out there. This is a real indicator that Nvidia just doesn't care about these low-end cards, honestly. They would rather sell 2 of them but make a lot of profit. Last thing that I'll go over in this video. So I've been harping on Nvidia cards. Let's go take a look at AMD's next launch is the RX 7600 non-XT. And we got pricing information. $269. Bravo. That's where this card should come in at. I'm interested to see now what the performance is going to be. If it falls where I think it should, then this may not be a bad deal. But let's go and look at the specs and kind of see how it stacks up. All right, so 32 CUs. So that's the same as all the previous, well, yeah, it's more than the 6600, so that's good. It actually matches a slight step up in card. It's got 2048 FP cores, which matches the step ups, so that's looking good. Base clock is a little bit lower. Well, it's higher than we have to remember, and here's what I really like. So this card is the 6600. This is the 7600. So these two cards, this is basically the new generation of this, right? If I go by model number alone. And if you look at the starting prices around $329, AMD took one look at the market and they have appropriately priced it at $269. Bravo. Bravo for taking a look around, seeing the current market situation, and going, we're going to price this accordingly. I wish other brands would do that. Like, understand your audience, understand the current market situation, and price your card accordingly. Good job. Um, it is a little bit higher power, much higher bandwidth. Uh, Same bus. Bus is pretty low, but it's the same bus as the outgoing card, but everything else is higher. It didn't lose bus to the previous card like the Nvidia variant. Higher clock speed. Honestly, more CUs. So what I think is going to happen, this 7600, because these are better cores, all things being equal, looks to me as if it's going to perform right in about that 6700 XT performance range, right? So it should comfortably beat these two cards. It should really be an upgrade from a 6600 to show an actual generational improvement. How's about that? And it's going to do it for an appropriate price in today's market. What do you know? I'm actually kind of excited about this GPU. I didn't think I would be. To be honest, it's a non-XT variant. It's only got 8 gigs of RAM, VRAM. But it's going to succeed a card at $269 US. That was originally the card it's succeeding was $379. So that's $100 difference in price. They're able to do that, and they're doing it because they see the difference in the market today versus what the market was then. When this was launched in 2021, you had the mining craze. Everything was sold out. Still, I think we were in kind of pandemic time frames. So, there were a lot of things contributing to this having a higher price. They tried to price it appropriately due to what they felt the market conditions were. They're pricing this according to where they think the market conditions today should be. I have to give that kudos. I think that's good. They probably don't have much choice because people are going to buy Nvidia, but I think they do this. I really hope it. I think it's Computex that's coming up is literally this next week. I think is the next electronic show or whatever. I really hope we get some details on FSR3. AMD could absolutely swoop in with FSR3, and they could hammer Nvidia. They could hammer Nvidia because Nvidia will look silly for. Even if FSR3 isn't as quite as good as DLSS, all it needs to be is stable. It needs to work and deliver similar performance to DLSS 3, and it should allow for frame generation. Like, all it has to do is just do the things. It doesn't have to be quite as fast, but because, like this card, for example, I think is going to be way stronger against the 3060. I think this thing could even approach 3060 Ti. I'm sorry, I apologize. Well, yeah, 3060 Ti. But 4060 Ti, I think it's going to slot in underneath a 4060 Ti, potentially at 269. Nvidia could have a problem. But this, again, Nvidia may have already anticipated this happening, and they'll price accordingly or do what they need to do. But I appreciate the fact that AMD, they were sort of wishy-washy on price. I think they first initially thought maybe they'd do 330, and then as the market has gone on, they've seen the backlash that Nvidia's getting. They're like, hey, let's try to, let's go for some market share. They're pricing this at 269. If this performs the way it looks like it may perform on paper, which I think it'll get into that 6700 XT range, maybe. Probably more like probably maybe a tiny bit below that, but maybe right at that. I think we're good. And they come out with an XT version of this, we'll see what happens. But I'm more interested in, I think they were like, hey, we can get some market share if we release this card now, which is why they did it. And they're probably right, because I would probably take this card. Well, it's going to be the 3060 or 4060. It's just going to win. A 4060 is not going to be able to beat this because, again, these are better cores. This thing's clocked really high. It has the same bus, so you're not really losing anything there. And it has more bandwidth. Like, I just think this will be a faster card. It's going to take a little bit more power. I don't think that's that big a deal. We're not talking hundreds of watts. We're talking 40 or 50 watts, which in a desktop PC is not that big a deal. So we'll see. I'm interested now to see what the performance is like. Yeah, it's definitely quicker than a 6600. It should match a 3060 12 gig. I think it will beat a 3060 is what's going to happen. These cores are no joke, and what I mean by that is Navi 33, I think one of the reasons why AMD is not releasing a mid-range card is because they had planned, at least if all the rumors and leaks are true, they had planned a 7800 XTX. And what I think has happened is the 7900 XT didn't go over as well as they thought. And they were greedy. They released it at like $900. It's down to $800. And I think the plan is they want to be able to lower that to $700, I think. Even because they're going to, I believe, at some point they're going to launch a 7950 XTX, a 7950 XT. And when they do that, those two cards are going to slot the other cards down the range. And so they're making room for those. And as a result, you don't have any room to launch a 7800 XTX or a 7800, maybe not even a 7800 XT, is what I'm thinking. So that's another reason why they probably launched this at the price they did, because they need, they need the $300 mark, they need the $400 mark, the $500 mark, $600 mark. They're going to release those cards, which will probably be like this is a 7600, so you're going to get a 7600 XT, which will probably be $300 to $350. And then your $400 card will be a 7700. The 400, it'll be $450 to get a 7700 XT, something like that, maybe. I'm not sure, but they're, the price, $50 or $100 price gaps ramp up very quickly. So I think some of the mid-range cards are probably getting cut. They may yet release a 7800 just XT, but I don't think it's going to be like an XTX or anything crazy, because they kind of want to go after some of the more margin with that top end. So I'll be interested to see what they do there. But we'll see. Again, they priced this accordingly, so I'm going to give them kudos for that, but we got to still see what the performance is like. I'm cautiously optimistic. That's it, guys. So I'll stop the video there. If you like, you like. If you subscribe, you subscribe. If you don't, you don't, I guess. I will wish you guys a very happy day and a good week. Thank you.